I'm a bad motherfucker.
Getting sleepy. Okay. All right. So now down to brass tacks. All right. So the House passes a $95 billion foreign war bills. Woo! America! Fuck yeah! U.S. lawmakers passed a raft of legislation containing some $95 billion in military aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. Also approving a bill that will allow Washington to hand Kiev assets seized from Russia and pave the way for a ban on TikTok.
Well, they got that through.
They did.
Good news.
And they are already threatening in Russia to retaliate by seizing Western assets. The aid bills passed by a wide margin after separate votes on Saturday afternoon, with the $61 billion Ukraine legislation approved 311 to 112. Though a thin majority of Republicans opposed that bill, accounting for all 112 no votes, while one GOP rep voted present, it was ultimately adopted with bipartisan support.
Who was that hero?
That's always such a profile and courage, right? The present vote. I would have principles, but I
was
can't.
there. Okay.
I was there. Another measure authorizing, I gave them a mean look when they voted.
I saw the whole thing.
I saw another measure authorizing $26 billion in military aid for Israel easily sailed through the lower chamber in a 366 to 58 vote, with just 21 Republicans and 37 Democrats in opposition, because what's a little genocide between friends? An $8 billion aid bill for Taiwan and other U.S. allies in the Indo-Pacific also passed 385 to 34, including language that allows the White House to divert additional funds to Ukraine.
Wow.
In other words, just in case Marjorie Taylor Greene and company pull their shit, they built in a safety valve. That conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
They built in a safety valve so they could take some money away from Taiwan and give it to Ukraine. While the aid was originally packaged together as a single bill by the Senate, House Speaker Mike Johnson declined to introduce the measure unless Democrats agreed to significant immigration reforms. However, after months of gridlock, Johnson divided the legislation into 3 separate aid bills and later added a fourth containing several unrelated provisions, allowing them to advance to the floor. I guess they showed him that Kennedy film. The immigration provisions were left out of the 4 bills, and the Speaker allowed a separate bill on immigration to come forward on a move to suspend the rules. That suspension of the rules quickly failed, so no debate on immigration or the U.S. border occurred. The latter bill also passed overwhelmingly in a 360 to 58 vote. Dubbed the 21st Century Peace Through Strength Act, which its authors immediately submitted to the Orwell Awards for creepiest name for a bill in 2024. The law will allow the White House to bring new sanctions on Russia and Iran, as well as ban the Chinese-owned video sharing platform TikTok, more on that later, unless its parent company ByteDance divests its foreign ownership stakes.
Whoa.
The same bill also authorizes the transfer of frozen Russian assets to Kiev after Washington opted to seize Moscow's U.S.-based funds in response to the 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Libertarian-leaning Rep. Thomas Massie, who voted down all 4 bills, we should get behind this guy for president. We should draft Thomas Massie.
I never see him say a thing that makes me upset.
He is clearly a man of principle. Maybe they haven't shown him the JFK movie, the secret one. Condemned Speaker Johnson following Saturday's session, saying he was, quote, sharing the GOP speakership with Democrats while suggesting he had colluded with the rival party to ram through the Ukraine aid. Well, that's exactly what he did. Quote, To bring Ukraine spending up for a vote, he made a deal with Democrats on the procedural vote. Then he passed the bill today, with every Democrat voting yay and a majority of Republicans voting nay. On Friday, the Kentucky Republicans said Johnson had sold out to the Beltway swamp, adding that the speaker should step down before agreeing to send $100 billion to wars around the world. While GOP Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene proposed an amendment that would have reduced funding in the Ukraine bill to zero, it garnered only 71 votes in favor and failed to pass. Greene also blasted the House Speaker after the vote, calling Johnson a traitor to our country who allowed Congress to send Americans hard-earned tax dollars to fuel a foreign war.
No, Marjorie, he's just a man with an unspeakable secret that could never get out.
Horsecock doesn't suck itself, you know.
Yeah, a self-licking horsecock. That's the machine they've made.
Greene has threatened to remove Johnson from the speakership should he continue to ignore GOP concerns surrounding immigration, spending, and mass surveillance, among other issues, filing a motion to vacate that has yet to be called up for a vote. I don't know what she's waiting for, honestly.
Right?
Massey, along with fellow Republican reps Paul Gosar and Eli Crane, have signaled support for the move. While to bring Ukraine spending, oh, hang on. We got little doubles here. Okay. I am going to.
Look at his fucking face, that guy.
Okay, I thought we had some tweets in there. Okay, Misha, let's go to a break. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties. President Joe Biden hailed the passage of the aid bills later on Saturday, claiming the House voted to advance our national security interests. Biden's comments were echoed by his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, who thanked U.S. lawmakers who supported the legislation and singled out Speaker Johnson for allowing the vital aid bill to come to the floor.
I know what you did last summer, Speaker Johnson.
What happens in Ukraine stays in Ukraine as long as you pass legislation, yes? With all four pieces of legislation passing, they will move on to the Senate as a single bill. The upper chamber previously passed a similar measure, indicating it will face little opposition from senators. So this is Arnaud Bertrand. Now, I'm just going to read a little bit of this tweet, but it's an extended tweet storm that is actually worth reading. More than anything, what this confirms is the fundamentally nihilistic vision the U.S. now has for the world and for its place in the world, which is the very reason why it's currently losing out. Let me explain. To sum up, what we have here is the U.S. funding two active wars, one which already wiped out an entire generation of military-age males, and the other one which turned into a genocide, with most victims being women and children. And in both wars, not only is the U.S. making no genuine attempt to end them, except, which is the same, saying they can only end with total capitulation of the other side, as this aid package proves, it's fueling the fire. Laying the groundwork for a third war in Taiwan by inundating an island they officially recognize as part of China and officially say they don't support independence for with weapons against China. Banning a social media platform that they believe is making young Americans question the wisdom of their country's warlike nature. The only somewhat discernible vision here is, quote, "We want to win these wars decisively, as losing them would mark an end to our hegemony," which frankly at this stage is more of a selling point for 90% of the planet than something that'd make them side with America. For the very reason that it's become obvious to most that the U.S. is not a responsible world power anymore, but instead one that has descended into a nihilistic vision where nothing else matters but the maintenance of its own domination at any cost, including, paradoxically, the loss of its own responsibility and spiritual vitality. Now, this is Michael Tracy pointing something out here. A lot of people will cast Donald Trump as the anti-deep state warrior, which in some respects he is, sure. I think they prefer Biden to him. But the idea that he's really going to hold the line against the deep state, not when push comes to shove, baby. He certainly didn't here.
Wait, how did he pass this if he's not?
He supported it.
Oh,
He did?
He did. So here's Lindsey. Here's Lindsey
my
Graham.
God.
Here's Lindsey Graham.
The Ukrainian military, with our help, has killed about 50% of the combat power of the Russians. This is the year of more. They're going to have more weapons, but we also want them to have new weapons, ATACMS, to knock the bridge down between Crimea and Russia. They're going to have F-16s. So this idea, give up on Ukraine makes the world safer. If you pull the plug on Ukraine because you don't have enough capability, there goes Taiwan. The Ukrainians are fighting like tigers. This aid package has a loan component to it. This would not have passed without Donald Trump. I want to thank the House Speaker and Hakeem Jeffries working together in a bipartisan fashion to give weapons to Ukraine to fight a fight that matters to us. And President Trump has created a loan component to this package. It gives us leverage down the road. So this idea that we can't help Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan at the same time, I reject that. I reject it totally.
Just like I
The
reject the
idea
coward
that we
Christ.
can't. That was that was what they were saying in Rome right before the end. The idea we can't fight the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, and the Gauls at the same time. I reject that entirely.
Yep.
So there's Rand Paul.
70% of the country, I think, is against this. Am I wrong about this?
Keaton, you know what the numbers are on that?
Well, I mean, support for Israel is at 36%.
Nice.
Support for Ukraine's far under 50%. So, yeah, I mean, it's nowhere near 50. I mean, I don't know if it's as low as 30, but probably between 30 and 40 is a good guess. If you
It's got to be lower than Israel.
Yeah.
Israel's got to be more support, I would hope, than Ukraine or side
I don't know about that at this point because
that'd be pretty pathetic if Israel has less
we don't
swag
see
than
all.
Ukraine.
Yeah, we don't see all the images of the horrors of the Ukraine war the way that we do with Gaza.
But nobody cared in the first place. Only a very few people. People put flags, but out of that,
this is why after Vietnam they never allowed reporters to have free roaming capability again. That's why they embedded them. That's why they embedded them.
So you know where they are.
The country was much more patriotic in the Vietnam era.
Don't want this.
What's that?
The vast majority of people do not want this. And you had this tiny little caucus within the Republican Party that was threatening to disrupt the system if this went forward. And it seemed like they kept Mike Johnson in line for a while, and then something happens. So I mean,
this is my question, because my understanding is wasn't part of the deal in exchange for Johnson getting the speakership that any Republican could call a vote to vacate the speakership? Isn't that part of it?
That stands. Well, that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene is threatening to do it again.
But why didn't she do it before the vote even came up?
Well, because if you remember, we talked about this on our show. She was considering waiting until after the election for the sake of not rocking the boat too much during campaign season. But now she seems to have resolved, it seems, to file a motion to vacate, which, as I understand, the Democrats can block. And actually, Ro Khanna, oddly enough,
Right.
said he would try to block that. So it looks like the Democrats are going to go to bat for Mike Johnson if the Republicans come for him, which is amazing.
Mike Johnson
It's
is going to be
amazing.
the best
And
speaker the Democrats ever had.
It's truly amazing. And as that tweet a few slides back said, this is nihilism, because as Jimmy just said, most people don't want, like, who is this for? Who is this for? It is for the war machine. That's it. This is a transparent and just open-handed smack in the face to most of the country in broad daylight. And are they going to make him pay a price for it? The Freedom Caucus can try, but the Democrats can save his ass. And really, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? If they really want to paint this campaign as a difference between, regular order, democracy-loving, good people from both sides and the MAGA cults, right? What would be a better way to symbolize that than to go to bat for the Republican speaker in exchange for Ukraine aid? Horribly unpopular, but if that's going to be, if that's what they're running on, it makes sense. They might just do it. And I think they will. I think they will. What reason do they have to want to get rid of this guy? This guy, I mean, this guy's the best.
Right.
He's the best speaker they've ever had.
Right.
He's the best speaker they've had in recent history.
Right.
The war machine was grinded almost to a halt, and he just kicked it into high gear again by selling his own party out to the minority party.
Right. All right. So a lot of people found this a little untoward. Even Mike Johnson, at least in word. So when this passed, they broke out literally Ukrainian flags on the floor of the House.
This is gross, man.
It's nihilism.
If it's any consolation, they don't really care about any flags. If it's any...
Can I do want to say, so, when I say that the only thing that can save this country right now is some form of a revolution, some form of a revolution, I mean it. Like, you're not going to get this done through the ballot box, right? So they've figured out how to get even Donald Trump, who supports this kind of bullshit, they won't allow him. Right, they're going to been trying to throw him in jail, just like they did in Pakistan when Imran Khan stood up and said the people of Pakistan don't want to go along with NATO's wars anymore. And as soon as they did that, I was like, dude, you're in trouble.
Yep.
And they put him in jail.
Yep.
And the same thing with what's happening in Brazil. They put Lula in prison, then they put Bolsonaro, and they made it illegal for him to run for office. So this is the game that's being played again, and you have nobody who has a real platform. Like, I keep pointing back to Cornel West when I brought him on the show. They're all cowards. He'll never say anything about this. He'll never bring up the real problem in America, and that we need a real revolution, and we need truckers and farmers and workers of all stripes to come together and do something to shut down this government and put fear into them. We're going to be worse than Brazil soon, right? Right now, as Dylan Radigan said on the show a couple of years ago, we're basically Brazil, but with a couple of good cities.
Yeah.
And those good cities aren't good anymore, by the way. They got people living under every bridge. While they do that, imagine if they took $60 billion to tackle homelessness. Imagine if they took $60 billion to tackle mental health and look at all the jobs that would be created. And you'd get all the crazy drug addicts off the streets, and you'd have safe streets, clean streets. They have that in other countries. I was just over in Denmark. I was just over in Sweden. I was just over in Norway. They don't have crazy mental cases populating the streets in tents and living under bridges. You know why? Because they have social services. They spend money that they take care of those things. So if you have a drug addict, they give you a program for you. If you're mentally ill, they have a place for you. They have doctors. They'll take care of you. Not like in the United States. Ever since the 80s, Reagan just threw them out on the street, and that's what we're living with right now. And so, no shit. We need a real a march on Washington that shuts it down and scares the fuck out of those people. But nobody seems to want to do it. I can't even get people to write. People who consider themselves lefties, who are award-winning journalists, won't even write fucking articles about it. They won't even mention what's going on. that they're criminalizing not only the Stop Cop City, but they'll write articles about Stop Cop City, but not the fact that the same RICO statute and the same grand jury that they used to indict Stop Cop City brothers, they're using to go after Donald Trump. And anyway, it's go ahead. Wait, Kurt, you wanted to say something?
So I looked up Mike Johnson, just his background. He's such a blank, right? So he's from, I don't know what kind of Christian thing he's from. It's not a normal kind, but it's some kind of weird. Him and his wife are in what's called a covenant marriage.
Oh, Jesus.
A stricter marriage arrangement that is only legal in 3 states.
What? What?
First of all, a covenant, that's just called a marriage, I thought was already that.
Yeah.
No, it's some weird.
How much butter is she required to churn?
No, this is like this guy, New Orleans, that's where Clay Shaw and all those, they got all those JFK killers. This is some dude, he probably had to do something in a ceremony that they're holding over his head.
Wow.
Like George W. Bush shit, you know?
Why isn't Oliver Stone allowed to make movies anymore in Hollywood?
Because he wouldn't shut his dumb trap. Stop spreading malinformation.
Malinformation.
Which I call misinformation.
I mean, the guy, every movie he made, people loved, people bought tickets to see.
I remember the debunkings of the movies that I believed 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, JFK. What he's like, they're persecuting a gay man, Clay Shaw, with that. With that Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, they were homophobic. That's what it was.
Okay,
remember they debunked this? I couldn't believe it, man.
So our last bit here. Biden promised a $15 minimum wage, a public option, and increased funding for schools. And man, he sure has delivered big time for Ukraine and Israel.
Will they vote
That
election?
was from the account
option?
Not voting for genocide Joe.
Where's the public option? Nobody said. Nobody even brings it up.
This is what you're seeing happening throughout society on a lot of different levels. I might do it at some point this week. There was a really interesting article about how the black community in Chicago is fucking furious because all of a sudden they whipped up $30 million for migrants.
Out of nowhere.
And they've had these horrific conditions of poverty and lack of quality schools for literally generations and have constantly heard there's no money. There's no money. That's happening society-wide because Americans are seeing they can come up with money for multiple wars. Look, Lindsey Graham is sitting there I absolutely reject the idea that we can't fight everybody with one hand tied behind our back. We can. Okay, well, so why can't we have health care? And why can't we have free public universities?
And not one journalist will ask, and Lindsey Graham, what is America's interest in this war in Ukraine? What? How does this help us economically?
Oh, so much.
What is it? What is it really? What is in it for us?
It's the most important thing in this whole wide world. Oh my goodness.
There's nothing in it for us.
What isn't there in it for us?
This is it. This is an
best
upward
money we ever spent.
Again, upward transfer of wealth. This is an economic war trying to put a hurt on Russia, and it's not working. Russia's getting stronger and stronger. You know what's hurting? When we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, it hurt Europe. It hurt Germany. Right. Now they're paying 2, 3, 4 times the price for energy than they were before. It's draining it's another upward transfer of wealth to the international security state and the military-industrial complex, and that's all this is. And people go along with it. You know, I was just on the road, and I met an old friend of mine from Hollywood, who's a great guy, and he says, "Well, we can't have Trump become president. We're all going to end up in camps." That's what they say. That's what they say.
But who will be in the camp?
That's what I said.
I am honestly more worried about ending. I'm more worried about ending up in a camp under Democrats, frankly.
No doubt about it. They wanted to put me in a camp during COVID. They wanted to take people's fucking kids away from them because if they wouldn't get them vaccinated. That's what the Democrats wanted to do.
You were mentioning nobody's reporting on this, but you know what? Schellenberger, Li Fang, Matt Taibbi, they have really been trying to sound the alarm about this creeping censorship state worldwide and how dangerous it is. From the Scotland hate bill, and they're trying to pass something similar in Canada. What they're arguing is because of the First Amendment in the United States, they know it would be very difficult to pass something like this here, if not impossible. So you pass it there. so that the social media companies wind up adjusting their algorithms.
That's right.
That's right.
To be in conformance with the law in countries that have those laws. Why are they so focused on censorship? Because their agenda has become so transparent that you can't even propagandize most of the people into believing in it anymore.
Because if they lose control of the narrative, which they're losing because
Right.
of social media,
Right.
then you have to start disappearing people and putting people in camps.
Right.
And that's a lot harder and messier.
Right.
And not that they won't do it, but they will. Right now, they're trying to foment an actual civil war in this country.
It's called soft killing. It's called soft kill.
Yeah.
We're going to clear out the old people in fatsos a little bit because
Yeah.
there's too many
They're going to
workers.
try to kill you economically.
AI is
first.
almost here, so a lot of you got to clear the fuck off this planet because I'm not paying for you. So we got to get until the robots can take over. And what's the guy Yuval Harari?
Yes, that's right.
The useless class would be
useless
here. The
class.
useless,
Yeah.
Useless eaters.
yeah.
And so let me tell people that there's no conspiracy that a conspiracy theorist can think of that's actually scarier and worse than what's actually happening.
And they're saying it in the open. It's not a conspiracy.
And they're right.
It's- conspiracies are hidden.
They're not even hiding these.
They don't wave a flag in your face.
They're in Canada. They're saluting fucking actual Nazis, while they call the backbone of their economy the truckers Nazis. While they crush the backbone of the economy in the United States, which is the railroad and the railroad workers, the glue that holds fucking capitalism together, they crush it. Nobody gives a. So again, what
the U.S. is being declined on purpose because we're
on purpose. So
we're a state in NATO. We're not a country.
That's right.
And you're an asshole because you think you're a country,
Yeah.
but you don't understand what part of NATO. Ukraine is our border. You see that? I texted the guy.
Yeah.
Ukraine is our border. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Ours? Or whoever runs us.
So anyway, okay, I'll
All
stop
right.
talking.
You
Let's
think
go to
you'd
a
at least
break.
get free health
Oh,
care?
we're going to
No,
Rumble.
you're not getting any of the good socialist shit.
We're getting.
No, you'd have
No, you
you
and
would
they're
have
getting
like
theirs taken
private
away.
health insurance in an internment camp. Could you imagine being on the phone with Blue Cross Blue Shield in an internment camp?
You,
My insurance doesn't cover it.
I'm
probably
in a
get
camp.
better health
I'm
care.
locked in a camp. Yeah, I can't. That's the one I can see.
All right, we are getting ready to rumble. So we will see you on the other side. We have a lot more left to do today. Like I said, everything's kind of almost interconnected. So we're going to cover the TikTok ban. We're going to cover the expansion of FISA, which is pretty terrifying. We're also going to do something about the death of the progenitor of this satanic panic by way of examining
Who's
the
that?
backlash to the Cass report.
Wait, who's that guy?
It was the psychiatrist who actually started the satanic panic just died. All will be revealed.
Okay.
All right, we will see you on the Rumble side.
themselves. They found a rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate shitty coffee? I, for one, really hate shitty coffee, which is why I'm excited to introduce to you a company that's revolting against shitty coffee, and it's called the 1775 Coffee Company. Now, I haven't had it yet because I only drink decaf. Steph has had it. Steph, how do you like it?
I really like it. You know what? I have a French press, and so I've been using my French press and totally enjoying it. It's delicious. It's smooth. It's smooth.
So 1775, the world in 1775, the world awakened to a new era. And now it's 1775 Coffee Company is bringing you a coffee that embodies that revolutionary spirit. Crafted with passion and precision, our beans are ethically and exclusively sourced from the finest coffee beans farms of Bolivia. Didn't know that. 1775 Coffee Company's farm-to-cup journey ensures the highest quality of authenticity and sustainability from start to finish. With each sip, your palate will recognize and appreciate the dedication and passion that goes into crafting this single-sourced brew. 1775 Coffee Company takes pride in offering customers a truly exceptional coffee experience with their premium coffee collection. But their dedication to this revolution extends beyond the realm of taste. Safeguarding freedom of speech is critical right now, which is why 1775 Coffee Company has joined forces with Rumble in defense of one of our most fundamental rights, freedom of speech. Coffee that's sure to awaken all your senses, including the sense of freedom. So choose 1775 Coffee by going to 1775coffee.com/litter. That's LITTER, and use the code LITTER for 10% off the checkout on your first order. 1775 Coffee, brewed to perfection, crafted with revolution.